Welcome to Upgrade. I'm your host, Frank the Tank, and today we're going to bring a demo how to install thermal paste properly. So there's a couple of ways you can do it, and we're going to try every single one of them. And I'm going to give you guys a bird's eye view so you guys can see exactly how the thermal paste conducts with the actual CPU. Now, the CPU that we're using here is an old Intel chip. It's no longer needed. We're going to put it in here. It's a larger one of the back in the early 2000s. We're gonna put this little rig together here so we can see and add a little glass on top of it so you can see how wide the thermal paste expands. So if you guys want to know more about this and you have any questions or you want to try different ways, let me know and then under comments below, and stick around. Welcome to late to the show. I'm your host, Prophet74. Today we're gonna bring a demo how to install thermal paste and how it looks like underneath glass. So I kind of put this together so you guys can see it. It has an old Intel. This is basically an old CPU, but we're going to use it for reference today to see how well it covers the thermal paste. So whenever you're hesitating about building your rig machine and you want to make sure it's getting the best thermal paste connecting, this is probably a way and a good reference to help you guys out. So stick around and let's go ahead and begin this test. We're gonna put one in the center and see how well it works and how it looks like underneath the glass. So right now I'm using a generic thermal paste. It's not really a good one. I'm just gonna use this one just for reference. Of course, it depends on also the thermal paste that you have, how thick it is too. If it's thin or watery, then you're gonna have issues. If it's thick, then that's something you want to maybe look into. So let's go ahead and test it out. So right now we're gonna do one dot right in the center, and not too large of a dot, just a small little dot. And that's pretty much it. And let it run off a little bit. So don't have that much. If you see it, this one dot. So if you think that one dot's enough, we're gonna find out right now if it's enough. So right now, one dot right in the center, and we're gonna use a glass to actually sandwich it together and see how it conducts. So when you push it down, that's pretty much how it's covering. It's not covering too much of an area, if you guys notice. And I'm pushing it hard right now. I'm pushing it really. It's in there, and that's pretty much what I can get. That one dot's not gonna cover everything. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're putting too much thermal paste." Well, this one dot right now, as you can see, it's not covering the whole CPU. Of course, I'm using a larger CPU, so remember that even halfway, it's not covering some corners. So just to keep in mind as reference. All right, so let's go ahead and take this off and let's go ahead and do another test. All right, with that one dot out of the way, we're going to do another test with two dots now. So let's go ahead and do a little larger dots so you guys can see a little bit better, so you can cover some of the stuff. So I'm going to do side-by-side dots. So I got two dots right there of thermal paste drops in there, if you guys can see it. And let's see how much it covers. So I'm going to put my glass in here again, and we're going to cover it, and you see the conducting. I'm going to push some pressure in there. The pressure is going down, and it covers, but it doesn't cover enough on the top or the bottom, if you guys can see it. It's a very simple test, but it's not covering too much stuff. If you can see it right there, it's not enough. So let's go ahead and do another test. And as you can see, the bottom is just not covering enough with two dots. So let's go ahead and do another test. All right, let's do our third test now, and let's go ahead and put four dots. We'll put them on every single corner. So let's go ahead and put the thermal paste, see how much and we'll do some more testing, of course. I'm just doing tests right now so you guys can see how much it conducts, and if it actually picks up any kind of if it's a good work relationship, but you put to see if the dots actually work. So right now we put four of them in four different locations. We got our glass. We're gonna put our glass over it, and we're gonna let it drop first. Starts dropping, and then we're gonna pressure it, put some pressure in there, and if you can see, the middle's not being covered at all, and this is with extra thermal paste that I just dripped some of it, and even if I push pressure on each dot, it's not enough to cover the middle. So even if I put pressure on it, this is pretty much what it's covering. It does leak out a little bit in the corners, but it's not enough. I think we're gonna have to need another extra. So this is exactly what you see underneath. You don't see it because you're pretty much putting your actual water cooling or your fan over it, and that's pretty much what you see. So there's four dots in there, and I'm pushing pressure on the glass, and it's it's missing a cover. It's not covering everything. So let's go ahead and continue our test. All right, we're gonna do the famous X on this one. So let's go ahead and commence the test and see how well it conducts, and then see if it actually covers the whole CPU. So there's a lot of new changes to the CPUs now that they're putting thermal paste, and hopefully some of these things could help you guys out. So let's go ahead and commence. So we're gonna do the X part of it. It's pretty much it. There's an X there. So if you guys could see it, it's not the perfect X, but it's an X. And see how well it covers the CPU when you actually put your fan or your water cooling system, and see how much it covers. Now this one's covering a lot, and if you guys can see, I'm pushing pressure on it, so it's pretty much it's covering. So the X seems like it's a hit here. Seems like it's covering pretty much the majority of the CPU, which is making the sandwich and conducting. So that's what we want to see. So pretty much I think this is probably it looks like a winner so far. But let's go ahead and continue on some more tests. And of course, I'm not putting too much pressure on it because it's glass. I don't want to break the glass, and it's a thin glass too. So you guys could try these at home and try experimenting to see what helps you out. You don't have to use a CPU like I am, but you could use maybe a little piece of wood or something that could give you a better idea of what you're doing. But if not, you could use these videos for references. So let's go ahead and continue. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do a couple more. I ran out of thermal paste on the other one, so I had to get another needle. So we're gonna go ahead and do 2 lines now across from each other and see how much that conducts and if that even works. So let's go ahead and do that. There's 1 line. There's 2. And this one went out a little bit coarse, but you get the you get the point here. So we're gonna go ahead and put this one in and see how well that works. And it doesn't cover much. It's gonna miss a couple of things in there. I'm pushing it as much as I can, but it's not. Eventually they do meet, but there's still a couple of things, areas that you don't cover, and that's my concern a bit. So I'm not quite sure if this is going to be probably the best solution for you guys. It's up to you. So we're going to do one more. So far, the X, I prefer doing it my way. I'm going to show you guys what I prefer and why I do it. So let's go ahead and do the last 2 before I end this show, and let's go ahead and continue. All right, we're gonna do one more, and this is a very popular one that's getting a lot of traction because it covers pretty much everything. So let's go ahead and do that. What I have here is it's another thermal paste that they do sell them in those bottles like this, if you guys can see it. I'm gonna put the description here, and it comes with a little paddle too, all right? So you can use the paddle to spread it around and put it any way you want. So let's go ahead and take this one out and open it up. All right, so here's a compound. It's thermal grease, it's called, right? So it's thermal paste pretty much, but it's pretty much you actually kind of spread it out like pretty much like a peanut butter and jelly. So it comes all set up, ready to go, and people just grab a little bit and just start messing around and start moving it around, and make sure you cover all edges. Don't put too much like I did in the corner, but I spread it around. That's pretty much what I'm doing, and I'm trying to cover every single area if it's possible. And this is a little bit thicker. It's not as thin as the other one and not watery. It's a little bit more thicker, but it's supposed to last a lot longer too. I suggest once in a while, you know, every couple of years, change the thermal paste if it's possible, if you're familiar with it. If you're not, then I wouldn't recommend messing around with it. But I do have a couple of shows and a couple of videos demonstrating those kind of solutions for people that are a little hesitant over those things. You could actually do it yourself, and I'm pretty much spreading it out as for demo purposes. I'm not being too perfectionist on it. I know a lot of comments out there, people, oh, you're throwing too much. You're doing. This is just the demo purposes. It's not a real one. That's the only reason I'm doing this stuff, for you guys to demo this stuff. So pretty much cover the whole thing in there, and let me put this on the side, close this whole thing out, and of course make sure you don't put this in your mouth or anything near your mouth. So right now we pretty much paste. It's like a peanut butter and paste. That's pretty much peanut butter and jelly. That's pretty much what we call it. So let's go ahead and begin now and see how much this covers. This should be covering everything, of course, you know. So that's pretty much every single thing is covered. If you guys can see it, every single point is being covered. I don't think I miss a spot anywhere. And this pretty much covers everything in here. Of course, there's one little spot right here that I got it now finally, But this is the best way to actually get conducted, just spreading it out pretty much evenly. Don't add too much of a layer to it, so it won't leak out too much to the underneath the CPU. So pretty much this is covering everything. I like this part. This paste is pretty good. I think I'm going to use this, but there's a new version of it that I'm going to be using. It's a metallic version of it. It's more like a liquid. And we're going to take a look at it on the next episodes and do a testing on it. So today we're just going to show you this one, and then I'm going to show you my final one, how I do it if I don't have this paste or I don't have a little spatula to move around and I have just the injections. We're going to do the last one so you guys can see what I do pretty much on my builds. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so this is the final one. And just to let you know, this compound is hard to get out. Look at my fingers. This is like super hard to get out. So I'm going to actually grease it up and see if I could get rid of it with alcohol more. So just to let you know, be careful when you're using this. They contain lead, some of this stuff, and it could go through your skin. So be careful what you put in there in your hands, of course, and wash them immediately after. So I'm just doing this for testing purposes. So the way I actually do it, I'm going to show you guys what I do. So I do the X, of course. That's one thing that I always do. I always do the X. All right, so I like to do the X's and put little tiny dots around the edges, and that's pretty much what I do. I don't put too much of it, but I try to cover as much as I can. And this is why, so it covers pretty much a wide area. Of course, I didn't finish the X, but if you can see it, there it goes. This is why I use the X, and I use the little dots in every corner. I'd like to finish the X all the way to the corners, but today I didn't have enough liquid right now. But if you can see, it covers a lot of it. And if you can see a little up close, it's covering the whole thing. It even leaks out some of the stuff. So I attempt to do the X in a couple of dots, and I always hear it from people, why are you adding those little dots? It's because I like to get some of the edges, and it's conducting. It's going to be conducting and with the actual water cooling. So I got to make sure that either the water cooling or the fan is being touching, so they could conduct the cooling on it. So this is why. So this is what I do most of the times, and I usually finish all the corners, the X's, but I didn't have enough today. But if you can see, I could actually go in there and finish it out, and you could add if you have more compound. But I ran out my last one today, so after conducting all those tests, I finally got the last one. But that's how I do it, and I'm put a little description here. But the best one of all, it's this one right here. This one covers everything, so recommend you guys that just pretty much cover every single one, every single area. These tend to not last too much. I mean, you run out right away if you don't have enough. Unfortunately, this is good enough for 1 or 2 runs, and that's it. Not enough for an enemy. But this thermal one, the actual grease, it covers everything. So highly recommend you. Not that expensive. You could keep it for any future use, and other times you could use it for. I like to read some of the comments, so hit me up down below. And also, just to let you guys know, more than 90% of my viewers are not subscribers, and it's affecting the show. I would like to get more viewers, more subscribers, so I could help the show out and bring stuff like this to educate people out there. I would love to have a couple more subscribers so I could actually purchase some of the items, because right now currently I am purchasing everything out of my own pocket. So it will help the show out if you could subscribe and hit the like. So if you have any questions or any comments, hit me down below. I'm your host, Frank the Tank, and we're out.